Welcome to another episode of CHILIpulse, the space we created to give you actionable insights on all things Chili graphics. Today, our guest is Andrea. Hi, Andrea.
Hello, Bram.
Let's kick off and explain the challenge of today, making smart templates, but making them faster and making the process enjoyable for the template designer in the meanwhile as well. Maybe for the audience, who is Andrea? What is your background?
Sure. So I joined the Chili team 3 years ago. I am part of the client success team, and I'm the client success manager for a number of US and Australia clients. And prior to joining the team, I was a Chili customer. So there was a number of use cases that I saw that needed templates to, make things more efficient and get the maximum number of outputs with the minimum number of effort. So when I would be building a template, I was often handed a finished piece of creative with the variables highlighted. So that was, fairly simple. Here's your template. Here's what we need it to do. Now turn it into a template. And in some cases, it was just that easy. Uploading the creative, doing a few minor adjustments to the layout, linking in the variables, done. Then there were some of the more challenging ones. So I would need some assistance in scripting. And in that case, I'd have to go to the more technical developers of my team, ask them to weigh in on what should be considered a design project, and have them take their time away from something else to help me write some scripts to make the actions in the variables work for what the end result needed to be.
And they were not just waiting at the end of the hall until you came by to say, can you help me? So I guess you had to interrupt them doing their job as well.
I did. And it was an easy task for them, but it was still an interruption for what they were doing, even if it was a 10-minute script. But then there'd also have to be a discussion. I'd have to tell them what I was trying to do, what the end result was, and then the testing, a little bit of QA here and there. So it was not as easy as a 10-minute piece of code. So I'm going to start with this Realty multi-channel ad. So I'm going to switch screens. So the first place I start when I'm working with a new template is getting all of my fonts, colors, and style guides loaded. So for that, I come down to style kits. And when I'm in style kits, I can look at different paragraph styles. I can have a different font for my headline versus the body text. The property info has a different font style than the text does and the headline does. I can come in and say, these are the colors I'm going to need. I can define my fonts. And the nice thing here is when we bring in a font, it brings in the whole family. So you're not having to load, the bold, the italic, the heavy.
Once you load the full family, you have all styles available.
Right. Exactly.
So now, okay, you're all set. That's step one.
See, that's my step one. And then I start loading in the images. So we can drop in any sort of image. There's a good number of options for what kind of image, even a PDF as an image. We can set shapes. So if I click on my shape here, we can add in a rectangle, an ellipse, a polygon. We have text frames, as I mentioned. So we can just drop in another, if you want to do a call out like recently sold, something else can be added on there. And then we also can add in barcodes. So if I come down here, you can see all the different barcode types that we have available. So if I click on a barcode, let's say it brings that barcode in, we can move it, resize it, assign a URL. Make it a variable even. Companies that I spoke to were saying, we need some animated files, but we really want a carousel. So in this specific template, we have 3 different layers. And as I click on each one, you'll see that frame is highlighted. And it'll show kind of a ghost preview of the image as I scan along the timeline here. But in this case, we were able to add in a different image per layer. And if I hit play, you'll see the animation of the different graphic panels coming in at different times, the different text boxes showing up at different times on the timeline. And then that image carousel will rotate the images out so that, there's one thing where you're looking at a web page and an ad pops up and it's got the image of a house, but this has that added benefit of showing you around the house, looking at room by room. So variables, so in this case, we have a few variables for the house and the agent. So if I come over to the variables, you can see we have our list here of different variable types. So here, this placement is a list. So we have different options to select from. And we have our list items, feeds, search results, stories, etc. We have the headline as a variable, so that can be typed in. It can be, you could restrict that to a list. You could say new listing or recently sold or, okay, so if I come over to the headline and I click to edit it, we have either a single line of text or, the other different types we could add it to. But here we have new listing. And you can see that while the input was all lowercase, the style for that headline changed it to uppercase. So even if the end user types something in that doesn't match the formatting of the style will override what's being written in. So having that style kit, kept the right colors, the right fonts, but also the right usage of the font if it needs to be stylized specific.
You have more than one output size because now you're working on one output size, but since we are templatizing, how does it work in combination with the Meta has probably different, I think it's for Facebook and for Instagram, there's different output sizes.
Right.
How does that work?
So that's where layouts come in. So if we look at layouts, right now I'm using a layout for Meta. We have the feeds in stream. We have search results, and we have the stories, the reels, etc. So there's different sizes for each of those. And what really makes it easy in Studio to build these is to start with one layer, layout rather. As a template designer, you come in, you make the adjustments. You could then copy. So if I just come over here and say duplicate, it will create another layout. And then you can change the sizes, which is what we did here. We changed the size here to make it wider. I'm going to just hide that. And so by going into an existing layout, duplicating to start a new one, and then making the adjustments, your time of making that template was just reduced.
Yeah.
So this template that I started with is specific to digital output, but then there's a similar template that actually was created by just doing a save as on that last template. So we already had the colors and everything loaded. So if you go to File, Save As, you can create the next template to make more revisions. Yeah. So looking here, this has a number of different outputs as well. So we have some print, signage, flyers, hangers, but then there's also some Facebook posts, so some digital output use cases. So if we take a look at our color swatches here, you'll see that we have a hex value applied to the blue. We have a RGB value applied to the red. We can also create the CMYK versions. Yeah. So if I add a new color, you can see the different options. When we edit that, you can either use a picker or you can put in the direct value. So I can switch to CMYK. I can say it's 100% magenta, 100% yellow. Let's give it about 15% cyan.
And in school I learned never add black, but it's because we make your colors dull.
That's our print backgrounds coming to haunt us, right?
Probably, yeah.
So once a printer, always a printer. So yeah, when we take a look, you can have different alternate versions of colors, and then in this case, this template could be output for those different channels. So we can say, all right, well, right now I'm working in a print flyer, but if I come back over to my layouts, I'm going to switch it over to the Facebook post. and see what that looks like. We can add the animation here. We can leave it as a digital static file. We don't have to have animation. So there's a lot that we can do, and again, quickly. So here I just switched from the Facebook post to the Facebook story, and all of a sudden I have some animation available and a little bit of a carousel going on.
And we owe it to the audience that we have to talk to AI, because we teased the AI in the beginning. So we talked about all the ingredients, like the basic elements, the layouts, the frames, the variables. But let's say that depending on a variable, I choose something else for variable value, something else needs to happen because I want to make my template very dynamic. That's where actions and triggers come in. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. So let's take a look at the agent info. And if we come over to, our actions, we're going to go to the phone number. This was one that was something I worked with a lot when I was building templates, because even, just within the US, we have different preferences for how you want to stylize a phone number. But then when you take on international markets, you have different formats altogether. So in my previous experience, I would have to create a variable to take in the phone number, and then I would have to write an action that would then apply the formatting to the variable and created a second variable to display the phone number. So there was a couple variables and some action stuff that had to go on. Now, in this case, this variable is just pairing up each realtor with their own phone number. So, but if we needed to take in the phone number and apply a format to it, I could just very quickly say to Genie, please format. I mean, I don't think it worries about please, but let's format the phone number so that the area code in the US starts with a parentheses, is set off by a parentheses on the end, and then in the middle of the phone number have a hyphen. Some companies prefer periods to separate things, so we could use the action script, just writing a little script to Genie saying, this is what we need, create the format.
Maybe before we go on, you're talking about Genie because for us it's like very normal to have Genie available in there, but for the audience, Genie is our AI assistant, meaning that you see the little blue dot on the left-hand side. And I don't know about you, Andrea, but my scripting skills are, let's say, intermediate. How about yours?
I know it when I see it. I can make minor edits, but I'm not going to be able to generate the scripting on my own.
So when going back to your earlier days, when you had these colleagues not waiting for you, they would create the scripts and then you could maybe tweak it and make it do whatever you wish. Maybe tweak the script until it did what you wanted it to do.
Correct.
Yeah, well, same thing for me. I wouldn't start from scratch, and that's exactly where Genie comes in.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a few different ways you can interact with it. I am coming from using CHILIPublishR for so many years that writing, using the WYSIWYG action editor is a little bit ingrained. So I'm still thinking like an if, else, then statement.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing is here is indeed the Genie will now, when you push generate, which you don't have to do because of this template,
right,
it will make you a script, and then you can just interact with the script as if it was a plain JavaScript and then tweak it to the needs of this template. But if you have a right prompt, it will just do it in a very good fashion.
Right. And an example of a recent file that I was working on, I had a holiday postcard, and there were 5 holidays that were included in the options. I only saw 4 initially. So I had Genie write all of the scripts for those 4 holiday actions and realized, oh, there's a 5th version I have to get in here. So rather than going back and starting over with the prompts, I was able to copy and paste. Again, that's where I know just enough to be dangerous. But I was able to copy and paste where I needed to.
I think that's where a lot of designers are. We're not scripters. And even in my case, I'm not a good designer. But if you have the skills and the tools available to combine all of them, and then Genie can help you 90% out of the way and then tweak it, I think that's where the power is.
Absolutely.
So if you could now summarize, having all these tools available, does it improve the speed of template creation?
It definitely does. It definitely does. We're actually doing a few specific, examinations of use cases and how much time we're saving. And it varies based on, the complexity of each document and what needs to be done. But just from my experience, again, working in publisher for so long and having had these use cases that I struggled with, finding how quickly and easily Studio can handle them and how much time I'm saving has been really enjoyable.
Well, Andrea, thank you so much for walking us through all these tools and features available to make your and our customers' lives more enjoyable.
Absolutely.
I would say, audience, if you are teased with the ease of template creation so you can get ROI faster, let us know and we'll provide you with access to our discovery environment after a short demo. So thank you, Andrea, again. Thanks for watching and listening, and see you in the next episode. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.